Today, I'm talking about a really important and also kind of heavy topic. So, I would just want to say, first and foremost, if domestic violence is a trigger for you or it's something that has presented trauma in your life in the past, I really want you to be careful as you watch this because I don't want this to be at all something that re-triggers a person. So I'm just going to be talking about what to look for in relationships that might be heading down the path towards domestic violence or abuse of some kind. And so I just want to be clear here at the beginning of this video that it's a heavy topic. So please be mindful of yourself and how you're feeling. And if this one's not for you, skip along and go watch another one. Today we are talking about domestic violence and some of the signs to look out for if you are in a relationship that is considered to be violent and abusive, or even if you don't recognize it right now, there might be some things going on that can lead towards that. So stick with me and I will share some of the things like that and share with you some of my experience in working with my local domestic violence counsel. So the topic of domestic violence is super important to me. I'm very passionate about it. Just a little background real quick. In my work as a counselor, I am the counselor for my local domestic violence council. So currently I'm not doing individual counseling with them, but I previously did individual counseling for their clients, and then I still run a group for them as well. And I am very passionate about it. I have seen so many women in so many different situations and circumstances. It has changed my life, honestly. I love the work that I do in general, but I really love working with those women because it just gives you a whole new perspective on life, and everything is not as it seems. So that's part of what I want to talk to you about today, is that everything is not as it seems when it comes to domestic violence. I know you can Google a lot of this and find out some of this information, but I'm hoping that hearing it from my perspective and from what I've experienced in my work as a counselor, I'm hoping that it will come across a little bit differently. If you are at all concerned that you are in a relationship with domestic violence, maybe this video can help you know for sure, I am and I need to get out, or whatever it is. First of all, this sounds obvious, but it's difficult if you're in this relationship. If you are in a relationship right now where there is any physical violence whatsoever, you need out. And I know it's not that simple. Believe me, like I said, I've worked with tons and tons of women in this situation, and it's not that simple, but it needs to be. Your safety is more important. So if you're not sure where to turn, the first place I would say is, like I said, where I live, and I live in a very small area. Even here, we have a domestic violence shelter, council, that sort of thing. So find out where something is in your area. There has to be a resource, and if you feel stuck on your exact town or area, there's definitely one in a town next door, right? So look for that local resource and reach out to someone that will help you with that. And please, please, please don't hesitate to. If you know deep down there's stuff that's going on that shouldn't be, I'm really not safe. I can't lay my head on my bed tonight and know for certain I am absolutely safe in this relationship. If you can't say that, then something's wrong. So reach out to those resources. But the other thing I want to share in this really quickly is there's a lot of signs when it comes to domestic violence. It's not like it's not like someone asks you on a date and they bring roses and, it's this like fancy romantic thing, and then day two they punch you across the face and that was 5 years ago and you guys are still together. That's not how it works. If it worked that way, domestic violence would probably not really exist because there would be no second date, right? It is a very slow and subtle process. I know if you want to research this a little bit more, there's some things out there that really show a little bit more of a strategic pattern that happens in domestic violence, and that's really what it is a strategic pattern. And I can't remember the exact order of how it goes, but it's not always the same order, really, because every couple, relationship, person, offender is different, and so it doesn't always follow an exact pattern. But some common things that I want you to look out for if you're in a relationship that, even if you're not feeling unsettled yet or you're starting to feel unsettled, um, some things I want you to look out for. One thing that happens is an abuser will quickly isolate their partner. So, um, they will quickly isolate them, meaning they will start cutting off, they will facilitate cutting off friend and family relationships. And this might look simple as, oh, I really can't stand that friend of yours. She's such a, or she, she's awful and I don't like them, blah, blah, blah. It's just, it can start with subtle messages to, then it gets to, I'm not okay with you hanging out with them. I don't want you with them. I don't want them over here. In fact, if you just deleted their number, that'd be great. So it leads to that. Then it turns to manipulation, gaslighting of family as well, where family is often a support for people, not always, but typically that's a place of support. And the abuser will slowly kind of cut them off. This can advance to physically moving you away from your supportive people. For example, that would be like moving out of state or moving very far away. So, in the instance of needing help or reaching out, you are that much more isolated from getting help. In really extreme cases, abusers have moved their partner to like a super secluded location. And then they often can try to cut off more access. Like I said a minute ago, cutting off through manipulation and gaslighting, cutting off communication, but then it can go another level as well of they are controlling your phone or emails or things like that to really eliminate communication. And I hope that you guys don't think this is extreme. It absolutely happens. And if any of this is happening to you, you need to find some resources around you and get out, because they will help you, I promise. So isolating and taking you away is one thing. Another thing that happens, I've mentioned gaslighting a few times. I think this term is getting used more and more often, which can be a good thing if people are unaware of it. It can be overused as well. I will say that. But in this case, I think gaslighting, in this case of domestic violence, gaslighting is usually very, very big and powerful. What gaslighting means is it's sort of like, this is my own interpretation, okay? If you Google this, Google will tell you something more sophisticated. But I think of gaslighting as like manipulation on steroids. So it's manipulating you, but it's really deeper and more powerful work of sort of tricking you. Maybe brainwashing is another type of way to say it, that you start to believe something is wrong with me. I'm the bad guy. I'm at fault. Maybe I am crazy. Um, Maybe I did cause this. Maybe I do deserve this. All of that is what gaslighting is. And again, gaslighting is also not an overnight thing. It's a slow, steady, powerful manipulation. And if you get to the point where you start to believe some of those things, it gets really confusing. And that's one reason I think it's really hard to get out, is because you constantly have this mental tug of war of, I don't think I deserve this, but maybe I do. Maybe I did. Okay, yeah, I did say this one thing and that was bad, so I did deserve that, right? It becomes this crazy tug of war where it's hard for the person to understand what is really right and what's really going on in the relationship. It gets super confusing and messy. So I want you to think about that a little bit more and try to go back through some situations maybe and see, was that necessary? Was that my fault? Was that a mutual issue, or is something deeper going on here? Usually, when you start to think back, you'll notice some patterns of either behavior or circumstance, incidences that happened, you'll usually see some patterns. And like I said, it usually starts with some isolating and kind of cutting you off from your people and your life. The next thing that can happen is once an abuser has the mind captive, if you'll notice, this is a huge part of this that I think a lot of people misunderstand, is that by the time physical, sexual abuse happens, the mind has already been abused for a while. And I don't use that word abused lightly. I mean that very intently, that the mind has been held captive for months, if not years, by the time physical abuse starts happening. So in that case, it's then again that much harder to really make sense of what's going on and to get out, because the mind games keep playing and then the physical ones are thrown on top of that. So once a mind is held captive, then the physical and sexual abuse tends to start, because they already have control of, it seems, right? They already have control of what's going on in your mind. And so it's easy to throw a punch or throw you across the room or whatever it is, put their hands around your neck, and then tell you later, I'm so sorry, I love you. That might be one approach. Or the other approach is, you're nothing without me. You need me, right? There's a couple different ones that way, but any of them go right back to the manipulation and gaslighting, and they continue that cycle of mind game. Once it gets to that point, it does get really complicated and messy, which is why I'm going to say again, and I'll probably say a few more times, if you're in this right now and you relate to this, please reach out to someone. You can get out now, and you need to, and it's worth it. You have a whole life ahead of you. You don't need to be stuck in this. So reach out and get out, okay? So if it has escalated there, that's absolutely a no-go. That's not okay, right? None of this is okay. None of this is a healthy relationship. But for sure, if you've reached the point of sexual and physical assault of any kind, abuse, it's not okay, and you definitely need to report it. Um, I know I've mentioned the resources, and I want you to know certain things. I can't speak for all areas, but it's very typical for most domestic violence places to be able to offer things like counseling, or sometimes a shelter, a place to go. If they don't have a shelter, they likely have connections of one to get you to. They have so many resources, and they want to help. The people that work there have good hearts, and they want to help you. So reach out, and please, please, please don't let yourself be stuck in the cycle that you're in right now. It is hard to get out. It is scary. It is very unknown. I think one of the biggest things I know from a lot of the clients I've worked with is it seems so scary to go to the unknown. Leaving sounds appealing because it gives you the thought like, oh, I'll be free from this, I won't have to deal with it anymore. But sometimes the fear of the unknown that's past that ends up trumping the fear of staying. And to someone who hasn't experienced it or worked with someone like that's been in this abusive pattern, that doesn't make sense. But if you have been in a pattern like this, or you've worked with people who have, you do get it, that fear is overwhelming. And one of the reasons that, there's lots of reasons that people end up returning to their abusers, but one reason is because of that overwhelming fear of the unknown past life with them. And another big reason is just that really detrimental cycle that happens for years. Oftentimes, the psychological damage that's done is powerful. And that's where I want to end here to say, if and when, because I'm going to believe you're going to get out if you need to, if and when you get out, you can heal. I wholeheartedly believe that, beyond a shadow of a doubt. You can heal from this. I have had almost, I think, every single client tell me the emotional is worse than the physical, right? The emotional abuse is so much harder to manage and deal with and understand than the physical abuse. The bruises will heal, but the other stuff is so much harder. But I want you to know you can heal. And it might take some work, it might take time, but you can do it. It's absolutely possible. So please get out if you need to and get the help that you do. I feel so passionate about this because I lost one of my own clients to domestic violence, and I had told her a week before to leave. And I don't know all the things that went on behind those closed doors, but I do know that she needed to get out and it wasn't worth the risk of staying. So I say that not to scare you, but just to put caution in you that if any of this resonates with you, any of this sounds familiar, any of this gives you that feeling in your stomach like, ooh, that's me, please listen to that feeling and don't ignore it. There is help for you, and you can get out and you can heal. Thank you for being here today. If this is you, I'm going to leave a link below for our National Domestic Violence Hotline if that is just a place for you to start. I'll also link a website that might be helpful to you. So please look at those things. And if you know somebody that might be in this type of situation, I know it might be scary to share it with them, but you might be the person that helps them get out. And if that's the case, you saved a life. And that is absolutely worth maybe feeling a little awkward, right? So thank you for being here today, and I will see you next time.